All right, today we're going to unpack a really powerful way to manage access to Amazon S3, especially when you're dealing with a massive scale. Let's dive right in.
So, let's be real. Have you ever felt that headache of trying to manage permissions across a huge, sprawling S3 environment? You know, juggling individual policies for every single bucket. It can turn into an absolute nightmare of manual updates and, honestly, potential security gaps.
But what if there was a better way? I saw a quote from a cloud architect that just nails it. They called a recent AWS update a game changer for this exact problem. And today, we're going to find out why.
Okay, so first, let's really dig into the problem we're all trying to solve here, what I like to call the S3 permissions headache.
Yeah, the old way. It's just brutal. You know the drill. For every new project, you're writing new policies. Every new bucket means you're manually updating resource names, those ARNs. This just creates this mountain of individual policies, constant manual work, and a super high risk of human error. It just doesn't scale. But don't worry, that right column isn't going to stay blank for long.
So, what's the big solution to this scaling nightmare? Well, it's a concept called attribute-based access control, or ABAC for short.
Think about it like this. The old method is kind of like having a security guard with a giant, super specific list of names for every single door in a huge building. If your name isn't on the list for that exact door, sorry, you can't get in.
But now, with ABAC, things are completely different. It's like we just give people a badge. The guard doesn't care about your name anymore, they just look at your badge. If you have a data science badge, you get into any door marked data science. Simple, right? And incredibly scalable. So, to put it a bit more formally, ABAC is a way to control access using tags. These are just simple key value labels on both your S3 buckets and your IAM identities, like your users and roles.
And this is the huge mental shift you have to make. We are no longer granting access based on a resource's specific name, its ARN. We're granting access based on its attributes, on what it is. Is it part of Project Alpha? Is it development data? That's what matters now.
Okay, that all sounds great in theory, but how does this thing actually work in practice? Let's break it down.
You'd be surprised how simple it is. It's really just a two-step process. First, you have to go and explicitly enable ABAC on the S3 bucket itself. And second, you tag both the bucket and the IAM identity with a matching key value pair, something like environment development.
Now, all of this comes together inside the IAM policy. You write a single, generic policy, and all the magic happens in the condition block. This is the secret sauce. This condition just checks if the tag on the S3 bucket, the resource tag, matches a tag on the user or role asking for access. If they match, boom, access is granted.
And the result of this? It's just so powerful. An identity that's tagged for development can automatically access any S3 bucket that's also tagged for development, just as long as that bucket has ABAC turned on. And here's the best part. When a new development bucket gets created and tagged correctly, access just works. Instantly. No policy change is needed. Ever.
Okay, so let's zoom out a bit. Why is this such a game changer for anyone trying to manage infrastructure at scale?
And this right here, this is the payoff. You can literally manage access to thousands or tens of thousands of buckets with one single elegant IAM policy. This one-to-many relationship is what makes ABAC so incredibly powerful for larger organizations.
So what does this actually mean for you and your team? Well, for one, it massively simplifies permissions. It slashes that manual work and the risk of mistakes. But even more importantly, it lets you align your technical access rules with your business context. Things like a project name or a team or cost center. This is a huge step toward real least privilege access, making sure identities only have the exact permissions they need. It's really a foundational piece for building a more dynamic, zero-trust security model in the cloud.
Feeling inspired? I hope so. But before you jump in and start changing everything, here are a few key things you need to consider for your next move.
First, remember this isn't some magic switch for your whole account. ABAC is off by default, and you have to enable it on each bucket, one by one. This also means your tagging strategy is no longer just for billing reports. It is now a critical part of your security posture. Consistency is everything. And finally, just be aware that some of your existing tools or APIs for tagging might behave a little differently once ABAC is in the mix.
And that really brings us to the final thought here. ABAC is a huge leap forward, tying security directly to your business logic through simple tags. So the real question you should be asking yourself is this: Is my tagging strategy ready for the future of access control?